Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we are jumping right back in with Food Chain. This is a rug builder food chain that I've played a couple of times on the channel and I absolutely fell in love with it, so much so that I'm in the process of just finishing off having it in paper. So this is going to be one of the few decks I actually have in paper that I can play, and I adore it. So let's get into it and see what it's all about. The namesake card, Food Chain. 3 mana enchantment, exile a creature you control, add X mana of any one colour, where X is 1 plus the exiled creature's mana value. Spend only to cast creature spells. So this and Squee the Immortal goes infinite. Infinite mana, Walking Ballista, that's a good way of winning the game. But also infinite mana and Hydroid Krasis is pretty tasty. And there's some other little combos in here as well. Things like, if we have a Questing Druid in play and we cast Squee an infinite amount of times, we can put an infinite amount of counters on Questing Druid, which is pretty good. And we've also got these Imperial Recruiters to sort of tie the whole room together. It can find us our Krasis, our Ballista, our Squee, or just, you know, things like more Ice-Fangs or Questing Druids, that sort of jam, as well as a few sideboard cards like the Collector Ouphe and the Magus of the Moon, as well as a Faerie Macabre. So there's quite a lot of play to this Imperial Recruiter here. And not only is it just a 3 mana thing that we can use to get another creature, we can also sacrifice this to the food chain to do some stuff, which I think is quite an interesting one. The thing we're missing online is we don't have Morlock or Zoanthrope, which are two like Tyrannid cards from the Warhammer 40k cards that are both worth playing in this deck. One of them, well, they both like shoot creatures for different amounts of damage and do slightly different things. One of them also draws you cards, but that's something that I wouldn't mind having access to, but we don't have online. We've got an Uro backup plan, which as backup plans go is a pretty tasty one. We've got the usual suite of counter magic that you'd expect to see. We've got some Force of Wills to protect what we're doing, stop our opponent if they're doing scary stuff. We've got some Ice-Fangs, not great versus the old Bowmasters, truth be told. But just a good card that gets us into our deck a little bit more, that allows us to play a little bit in our opponent's turn. Like if they don't have a Bowmasters, this card is actually really good. And it was a staple of Legacy until Bowmasters came out, really. But also, it's a 2 mana creature, so it can start our food chain. So we can play this for 2, turn 3, play this, and then sacrifice this to the food chain, play a Recruiter, and then away we go. The other thing we have here is Fury, which can remove enemy creatures, obviously, as well as Planeswalkers. But this is a 5 mana thing we can evoke, and then whilst it's in play, we can sack it to the food chain. Sorry, it's exile, not sack, which is important. So we can get rid of this to the food chain, which then gives us a big burst of mana that we can do some cool stuff with. We've also got some lightning bolts to pick up some enemy creatures with. And yeah, we can play like a pretty fine tempo-y sort of game, you know, or like mid-rangey even, with like Questing Druids and Uros and just, you know, grinding through our opponent's resources and just beating them down. That's how we won quite a few of our games, to be honest. We also have a lot of basics that we can play on, which is really nice too, because we're not making a 1-drop threat. We don't need to have as many jewels as like a deck like Delver or whatever. We can sort of expand out a bit more nicely. And we also have to have reliable mana against Wastelands so we can play Food Chain, and we're also a Magus of the Moon deck out of the board. Anyway, enough about the main deck. Sideboard-wise, we got some things that are not a surprise to anyone here. We're trying to cast some spells that cost 3 mana, so we want to be able to play that through Wastelands and Dazes and things, so Carpet Flowers can really help against that. Got 2 Hydroblasts and 2 Pyroblasts. I've added another Hydroblast compared to the last time I played this, because there's so many red decks that we need to do stuff about, really, like Turbo Muxus. Veil of Summer to help protect stuff. I think maybe these should just be another Hydroblast, but we're going to see how it feels today. There's still a bit of scam floating about. We've got some Graveyard Hate in the form of Endurance, as well as a couple of Force of Vigors to blow up some artifacts. So a nice selection of tools. We can play a combo game, we can play an aggro game, we can flip between the two and sort of tax our opponent's resources. We can control a little bit as well with, you know, removal. We got relatively good board presence and control between the Ice-Fangs, the Furies, and the Bolts. So yeah, I'm excited to play this again. I've had a lot of fun playing this. The one caveat is playing it online requires a lot of clicking compared to playing it on paper. But that aside, this deck is great. Let's jam. If you're looking to play Legacy on MTGO like me, why not try Card Hoarder? They're a rental service that I personally use, and I found them better than other rental services that I've used in the past. So why not give them a try? We are on the play for round 1. We can do lightning bolt stuff into Ice-Fang, into Recruiter. We've got Brainstorm if we need to fix our hand. This all seems fine. I think we lead out on the Misty Rainforest so we can dodge Wasteland. It's a bit awkward if we need to lightning bolt something, but we can still do that. I think the opportunity cost of losing our Volcanic Island here is too high. So I will lead out with the Misty Rainforest. We can emergency Brainstorm if we're looking for something like a Force of Will. We have plenty of blue cards, so it's not like we're looking for blue card and Force of Will. There is a basic swamp. There is a Chrome Mox. Okay. What are we going to see here? Let's have a look. What do they put under there? Vampire Hex Mage. Alright, so they are a person after my own heart, really. So we can go to our turn. We can deploy our Volcanic Island and then hold up Ice-Fang or Brainstorm fetch land, as well as having the bolt available. So we've got some reasonable tools here. But we're going to see what our opponent's up to. Ice-Fang can block a Marit Lage for a turn. There's a Thespian stage. So if we play Ice-Fang and we draw into exactly Food Chain, we can get pretty close to winning the game. I think we're just... They are holding up like Bowmaster's type mana, which is kind of awkward. But we can just fetch with and Lightning Bolt it. So I think we're better off Brainstorming here. That way we can Lightning Bolt a Bowmasters in response. Alright, here we go. If this comes in, they're going to target us with this. We will. We're not going to get maximum value on this Brainstorm though. So we crack this, and if we get Taiga here, that gives us the green we need. But we also want blue. So if we get a Trop here, we can't Lightning Bolt. So it has to be the Taiga. Sure. Let's get rid of this. So we get to draw our cards without any pain from the Bowmasters. Let's see what goods we have here. There are definitely goods here, that's for sure. I think we'll put Brainstorm and Recruiter on top, and then untap, draw the Recruiter. And then we have choices about how we progress after that. I think I like holding up our instant speed interaction here. So we can end a turn, Brainstorm, and then play the Ice-Fang. So it's going to hit us for 1. That's fine. We got time. We got life points. What's our opponent doing over there with their mana? There's the Dark Depths. Alright. That is a thing we have to worry about, isn't it? So this is blue mana for the Brainstorm. This Fury isn't that useful. We can do Imperial Recruiter stuff if we need. Okay, so I think we're putting back the Fury and a Recruiter. And then we're going to crack this for... we kind of want our opponent to go for the Dark Depths, and then we can block with the Ice-Fang. So I think we're just going to be getting a Trop here. And to be mana efficient, I am going to cast this Brainstorm end of turn. Okay, another Ice-Fang is nice. A nice Fang, if you will. We can cast both of them. So Imperial Recruiter and then the Lightning Bolt. We do need to draw through those cards. So they're going to make a copy of their Dark Depths. This one don't have any counters on. It dies. If you watch my channel, you know exactly what this card does. Alright. So we'll play this Trop. So we can play out an Ice-Fang, holding up Force of Will for some sort of Edict effect. But we are looking for a little bit of help here. An Urborg going to attack us. We will. Green, blue, and this is green and blue. And Orcish Bowmasters. This is what we're saving this Force of Will for. We go to blocks. Under the bus we go. We will make this next one at end of turn because we need to. So this is green, this is blue. Let's have another blocker. Another Lightning Bolt. That's not really what we're after right now, is it? An Imperial Recruiter. Okay. Kind of tipping our hand a little bit by playing this out. Mind some sort of bounce effect here, but that's not what we have available, is it? Hydroid Krasis draws us more cards, right? So this can draw us... This draws us 1 card, so it's kind of the same as an Ice-Fang, isn't it, at the end of the day? Sure, I guess we get another Ice-Fang here. And we hold back. If they have another way of removing our Ice-Fang, then we lose. I guess the one thing with Hydroid Krasis is that we can make it so it's a 2-2, so it doesn't die to Bowmasters. But we've gone through 2 Bowmasters so far. Alright. Looks like we're sending our little snake under the bus. I don't think we care about this 1-1. I'd rather have the cards to throw back with a Brainstorm, although we've only got 1 more Brainstorm left in our deck. A Thoughtseize. Yeah, this is pretty good. We're going to lose our Ice-Fang here. So we need to find a mana source is going to be good here. A Ghost Quarter. We have basics, so this isn't the worst. Just be careful what we fetch if they do want to Ghost Quarter us, though. Alright, they're passing it over to us. Let's see what we draw. A Food Chain. So we play Food Chain. We sacrifice this. Then we get the Recruiter. Like, our opponent probably knows we're playing Food Chain. I don't really think it matters if they know or not here. Green, green, red. Let's put the Food Chain out. Let's exile this. Let's cast this. We can go and get the Hydroid Krasis now. We could just chain Recruiters and build up more mana. That does leave us struggling a little bit afterwards. So if we get Krasis here, we sack this for 4. So we can do X is 2, and make a Krasis for 2 and draw 1 card. Or we could go and get an Ice-Fang. If we chain the Recruiter once again, then that gets us another mana. Sure. And then we do it again and again. We'll sacrifice this guy. Cast this guy. We're storming off. Get another Recruiter. Sacrifice this guy. Play this guy. Get Krasis here. Sacrifice this guy for green mana. Just blue mana. So we cast this. So you play this and this. So we can draw 1 card. 2 cards, right? X is currently 4. That's 2 cards. We can leave 2 mana in the pool for other creatures if we think we can keep going. Or we can draw 1 more card. I think just drawing another card is most likely going to be better. An Uro is something for next turn. But we have a 6/6. Not that it matters, it's going straight under the bus of the Marit Lage. But we can Uro, bring back Uro, go above 20 life. Actually, no, we can't bring back the Uro, can we? Alright, we have to chump block here. We don't have any Recruiters left to draw, though. Thoughtseize. Our hand is relatively Thoughtseize proof. The best thing they can do here is take away a Brainstorm because we have 2 dead cards. But we have a Ponder, which can do some work for us. Right, they've correctly identified the Brainstorm as the best card there. Another Urborg. Are we going to see another spell here? We are. 4 mana. The 1 ring. Protection for a turn. Okay. So we can't combo off. Well, we can combo off. We can just make a massive guy and then ping them in their upkeep. So there is that. Obviously, we're a long way off from doing that. We're going to need our draws to be pretty kind to us. Questing Druid. I think Ponder is the better card here. Ponder off of this. Fury, Ponder. Okay, any order and shuffle. Force of Will. That's not what we need to be. So if we seek the beast and find a land, then we can cast the guy. So this casts both halves, so that's the correct one to leave back. Alright, let's seek the beast. Walking Ballista, Questing Druid. So this is the end of the game. We survived for a while, and, you know, we weren't a million miles away. Alright, Magus of the Moon seems pretty reasonable to me. Feels like some Force of Vigors might be useful here. Seen, like, fast mana and stuff. Veil of Summer is definitely a thing we want. Endurance can block a 2020, but if that's the route we're going, I don't feel amazing about that. So, what do I not like? The Fury doesn't seem great here. So that can go, and that gets us Magus of the Moon and 2 Veil of Summers. Is there anything else we want to trim here? I like Uro, gets us above the mana cost. I think our opponent's deck probably has Doughty Voidwalker in, as well as, you know, the Bowmasters that we have to be trying to kill with our bolts. So I think this is probably where we're going. I don't think they're going up to things like Helm combo. I could be mistaken, but I don't think that's what we're at. Sure, we're going to submit like this. Alright, we can sort of do some ponderings. And we'll keep this. Honestly, if we had like a Mana War in our deck, we would have won that last one, which is kind of interesting. Maybe there's some room for a bounce spell creature. There's the wizard. It's like it lets you make a bird or bounce a thing or draw a card. Maybe that's somewhere we could look at as an option here. I don't believe we have to play around Wasteland in this matchup, so I'm going to play this Volcanic Island straight out and just start brainstorming, pondering. The Ice-Fang is nice. The Lightning Bolt can be useful, but is unlikely to be. We definitely want the Ice-Fang, I think. I guess we probably want the Bolt as well, for the purposes of Orcish Bowmasters, because all of our cantrips get pretty poor in the face of Bowmasters. Right, and there's a Saga from our opponent. A Chrome Mox. I think we allow this one for now. We do need to be aware of our clock, because we have to click rather than just saying we have infinite mana. And Orcish Bowmasters under Chrome Mox is interesting. It's going to be a Thoughtseize. It is going to be a Thoughtseize. That's fine. Now we've got a reasonable amount of redundancy in our hand, because we can go and find for other pieces. Right, taking the Force. That's interesting. So we draw the Lightning Bolt. We have a land on top of our library if we want it. We can do some Brainstorm shenanigans now while they can't play Bowmasters. That seems like a good position to be in. So let's Brainstorm. Alright, we just got more Brainstorms. I guess we'll get rid of a Ponder. And we have these fetch lands, so I think I'm going to get rid of the other Ponder. But we can draw that if we want to next turn. I think the time for Ponders is slowly falling away. Do we want the Ponder now? I think I do want the Ponder. So we'll crack with this. We can shoot an opposition agent if they play one. I didn't. So we want a blue source. I think it's going to be a Trop here. And then I believe we are casting a Ponder here. Holding up Bolt for Bowmasters or Oppo Agent. Okay. So we're pretty close to where we want to be here. I think we go Bolt, Food Chain, and the Brainstorm. This way they can't discard the Food Chain. We don't have everything we need to go infinite right now. Right, they're just making a construct. We should be able to race this. Like, it's not like the worst clock for sure, but we can Lightning Bolt this. I think it's probably worth doing. If they commit the mana to this, then I'll Lightning Bolt. If they don't commit the mana, then I won't. This will give us a good indication what they're doing with their turn. Right, let's just kill this one now. This will buy us another turn or two of time, because it's also going to make the next construct smaller, and we know that they're not making a 20/20 this turn because they haven't got any mana open. They can Pith and Needle us here on our Wooded Foothills, but it taps for black mana under the Urborg anyway. Obviously not ideal, but it's better than cracking and fetching away our combo. Expedition map, sure. I think that's correct for them to go after their plan rather than trying to disrupt a fetch land. It's not going to work. Pith and Needle also can't answer Food Chain because it's a mana ability. In case you were curious. A Ghost Quarter. This is a good play. I can fizzle their Ghost Quarter. Would I rather have a dual... Basically, would I rather have a dual land or a basic here? I don't think we're just going to say no to this. I think I will have a dual land instead. That's a good play. I think we probably want a Tropical Island more than anything else right now. So while the getting's good, I think I'm going to fire off one of these Brainstorms. Let's have a look. It's not really what we wanted, was it? Okay, so we're going to put these two away. Play this out. We kind of want to shuffle that one card off the top of our library, so we're going to go for green, red, and this. Play out this Recruiter. Let's go and find ourselves a Squee. They can't discard this or exile this. It doesn't matter. So we get the Squee here. And now we can Brainstorm into a food chain. And we have infinite mana and the combo. We can also Brainstorm to protect something like the Imperial Recruiter, if that's what happens here. It feels like our opponent's holding up the Bowmasters now. So we're going to have to try and play around that as best we can. So we can Bowmasters or Expedition Map. Alright, what is this? 3 mana. Dystopia. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices a green or white permanent. That doesn't do anything here. That's good to know. We get to see one more card if we Brainstorm on the next turn. I think that's correct, because we just have like lethal going on here. We don't have any green or white permanents, that's fine. So this goes and hopefully finds us a food chain and we win the game. Okay, we get to win the game. So we're going to put back here. I guess we'll put back an Ice-Fang and a Recruiter. It's probably fine. Let's play this out. Snuff out can kind of ruin us here. Okay, let's play this. And now we have this other Recruiter in hand. Alright. If we were playing in paper, I'd just say, I'll have 1 billion mana, please. Right, I'll reveal my hand just to so they can confirm. Yeah, some people want you to play it out. Some people are just happy to scoop. And honestly, it's fine whatever they do. That's their choice. We shouldn't be registering a deck that we can't win with, you know what I mean? The chess clock's there for a reason. Do I want Force of Vigors? I think I'd at least like to trim a Lightning Bolt for a Force of Vigor. I'd like to at least have one of them in there as an option. I think that's acceptable. Let's just go back in again. Yeah, so we have to keep going through that loop until we generate like 40 mana. And then we play the Recruiter, go and get the Walking Ballista, and then play the Walking Ballista for big enough to shoot our opponent. It should be noted that you can't use the food chain mana to activate the abilities of the Walking Ballista. So you can't just put it into play and hope your opponent scoops. Okay, this hand is alright. We have our combo piece, so if they're thought seizing us, they're probably hitting this, which means we're still going to have Force of Will available, and we do have the Questing Druid to sort of gas up again. Our opponent's mulligan to 5, that improves the efficacy. They've gone to 4, that definitely improves the usefulness of our Force of Will. Because even if we pitch a card, we're still up ahead in total. But as a dedicated Dark Depths player, I feel our opponent here. Many a time have I had to mulligan aggressively, and sometimes it doesn't pay out. Sometimes it might pay out for them though. I've certainly bought people on Malta 3, so let's have a look. A Pithing Needle. This can name Walking Ballista. That's fine. We have the one of... Oh, they've chosen Wasteland. Interesting. Squee the Immortal. We have infinite mana, which is the amount of mana I would like to have, as it turns out. So we're going to play turn 2 Questing Druid, turn 3 Food Chain, but we might have to Brainstorm to protect around a discard spell here. Alright, they're not going for it. If they Orcish Bowmasters here, that's kind of annoying. I think it's just better to hold up this Brainstorm as a blue card for Force. Let's crack this. Let's go for a Volcanic Island here. Questing Druid. So Questing Druid is really nice here because it's a 2-drop, so you can curve it nicely into the food chain. We have the combo just rolled up here. We just need to survive. An Orcish Bowmasters. This is worth counterspelling. We can get punished by a Thoughtseize from our opponents, but I think if they had a Thoughtseize, they probably would have fired it off, but that doesn't mean they can't just draw one off the top. Or maybe they were trying to bait out the Force to resolve the Thoughtseize, because we're clearly the aggressor here. Right, they've got 2 cards over there. Crack this. I think we just get Taiga. Just have all the colours here. Let's go for one of these. If this resolves, our opponent can't really interact with what we're doing here. I guess they could have Mindbreak Trap. I'll show... Our opponent was happy to scoop before, so I'll show them the Recruiter now and see if that changes there, what they want to do. Just let them know we have it all. Okay, feels like our opponent has a Mindbreak Trap or something here. An Orcish Bowmasters. They're going to ping our Recruiter. We're going to sacrifice it for green mana. We will also play this guy now, because this guy's going to grow infinitely large. So if they do have a Mindbreak Trap or something that's saving for the Ballista, we at least end up with an infinitely large creature. I will cut to when something interesting happens, so I'm just going to be clicking away for a bit. Our opponents just told us to have the Mindbreak Trap that we thought they did. So I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger so that it doesn't get bopped by anything. We're going to do one more iteration and leave ourselves with a Goblin. We're going to take our opponent's word for it and just make this as a big thing. So yeah, they're going to Mindbreak Trap this. We're just trying to shortcut it for both of our experiences. Okay, so we have a 25 power creature and a Squee. Now our opponent could just kill our Questing Druid here, which would make me sad, but it's certainly a thing they have the power to do. Dystopia won't kill because we can sacrifice the food chain. So that's a green permanent at least. Maybe we didn't need to be so aggressive with our Force of Will earlier, but the Bowmasters at that stage was going to be a real problem for us, I believe. Right, they're going to got Chrome Mox, so they're getting some more mana over there. Or they might just be getting an artifact for artifact count. Right, they put Vampire Hexmage under it. So Lightning Bolt wins us the game. They have to chump block here. They've got one more draw step. Vampire Hexmage, pretty good against Questing Druid. It's going to remove all these counters. We can then just do the whole thing with Squee again. But we will ponder here in case we find a Lightning Bolt. A Magus of the Moon is kind of interesting. I don't really think that's where we're at right now. We can play this Magus of the Moon, but then we're going to be stuck with these other cards. We're going to go any order and shuffle. Sure. So they can ping this Squee down if they want to. We exile this. They don't get a token. I think that was a mistake actually casting that Ponder. Perhaps we should attack first. But again, if we find it there, just cast this guy. Everyone's favourite little goblin. Alright, so this chump block's on the Bowmaster. Then our opponent has to draw... What? I don't know what they can draw here. Like, if they have something like a Fatal Push or a Snuff Out, that's pretty reasonable. Yeah, if our opponent pinged us with the Bowmasters, they would have ended up with another chump blocker. Right, our opponent's given us the GGs. Our opponent is a fan of the channel, which is always nice to see. I thought I'd recognise the name. We got the win. Our opponent was helpful to us as well. They scooped and in the second game, and they were happy to shortcut some stuff, which is nice. Is what you like to see. But it's not on our opponent to do that. If they want to make us play it out, that's fine. We registered the deck, so it's on us. All right, let's go to round 2. We've got Island Ponder. We've got a nice little redraw as well with the Questing Druid. This is fine as long as our opponent's not trying to bop us on turn 1 on the play. We can find some stuff. Like we have 4 Force of Will. We shouldn't be mulling to find Force of Will because that's kind of a risky proposition in my opinion. And you have 4 in the deck, and our hand is perfectly serviceable. I'd much rather just cantrip into something useful. Our opponent's mulligan to 5, which means they're more likely a deck that's looking for specific pieces rather than... Okay. I don't enjoy this. Our opponent... Okay, no, they're just playing the second main. Okay. For a minute I thought they were just going to be getting us in some horrible way. So they could be playing Blood Moon effects, which means I would like to go and get a basic island here. We can play off of 3 basics here, if we need to. So, Snow-Covered Island. Let's cast a Ponder. This Force of Will is very much one of the sort of things I'm looking for. I'm not sure if I need a Lightning Bolt. It's certainly a possibility. I think we'll put Land, Bolt, and Force. And we will not shuffle. So our opponent's on reduced cards anyway because of their mulligan, so hopefully this Force will get us there. I'm imagining our opponent's somewhere in the realm of Mystic Forge type decks. Those decks tend to mulligan quite aggressively. There's a Lotus Petal. We'll allow that one. If we can counter the thing that makes it. Cavern of Souls. Alright. Human. Which one is it going to be? We can kill either because of the Fury, but we can't counterspell this. Looks like it's going to be a Seasoned Dungeoneer, and we're against the initiative. Okay, so our plan is play Questing Druid, evoke Fury, kill Seasoned Dungeoneer. That's a plan. And then we can attack, get the initiative, and we're kind of away then. So this has to get us a tropical island. Or it can get us a Taiga, I suppose. But I think blue mana is going to be more useful here. So we get a tropical island. Let's cast this. Green, blue. Our opponent's got some removal. We can counterspell it as well. So we're going to pitch cast this. Pump our druid. I will very much be forcing a solitude if we get given the opportunity to do so. So we get to put 4 damage straight into the Seasoned Engineer, right in its heart. This leaves us with the only threat on board. They do get to Lost Well this turn. But hopefully we can make it to our turn and be away with it. And our guy's going to grow. Let's see where they put these cards they're scrying. 2 on the bottom. Alright, that's pretty good news for us. There are the planes that we knew about. This is like an uncounterable Caves of Chaos Adventurer here. It is an uncounterable Caves of Chaos Adventurer. That is unfortunate. So we are looking for a Lightning Bolt. We need to get the initiative back and deal with this creature. Not the easiest thing to do. Okay. Brainstorm's a good way of finding the thing that we need, though. There is a world where we can grow this guy enough. Imperial Recruiter and Fury definitely does the things we want it to do right now. And I like the other cards being on top of our library. So keeping these. We're keeping Force of Vigor blue card. Do we need this Ice-Fang? I want to make a land drop this turn. So if we put the mountain on top, we're going to steal the initiative and get a land anyway. So maybe we just put 2 lands on and shuffle these 2 lands away. That seems like a good idea. Alright, let's do this. We grow our lad. Whenever I play decks with Brainstorm, I do feel, why am I not playing Brainstorm in all of the decks I can? It is good times. Right, so we'll attack now. Get the initiative, so we stop that little threat from going on. And hopefully our opponent doesn't have any more spooky initiative friends. So this can get us a blue or a green source. Probably a blue source. It's just more useful for what our deck generally does. Then we'll play this. We can hold up the Ice-Fang, and we've also got Forcible Brainstorm. So we have a follow-up creature. This will also grow our Questing Druid, and then we can actually beat their guys in combat. Alright, so they can play a Solitude here. Like hardcast it, but we have that covered. Archon of Emeria. Honestly, don't care about that. We have the bigger creature. They can't cast any more spells, so there's not really much for them to think about. We're definitely playing the Ice-Fang here, and we can just hold up the Force of Will. Because they can't play any spells here. This is symmetrical. Right, we'll have a bonus card. A Fury, another one. Okay, our opponent's going to feel a bit greedy that we had that one. We will forge onto the Ice-Fang. This way we can block and defeat this. I don't think we need to do very much here. I think we're just going to do the aggro plan. Sure, so the Questing Druid going under the bus. Sorry, the Archon going under the bus of the Questing Druid. It's a bit funny that we haven't had any red mana sources, but we've cast 2 game-winning red spells. Alright, this Ancient Tomb is not free. Chalice the Void, Exorcism 1. We don't care about that at this stage of the game. We have lethal damage on board. What is your follow-up? That was clearly just a tester to try and see if they could get something. An Archon of Emeria. This is their last card in hand. We might as well Force of Will this. It just guarantees you win the game. We also have Trap coming on, so we don't even need to do that, really. But yeah, just showing them that we got it, I guess. So, this is a matchup where we're probably going to want our Force of Vigors. There can be some annoying permanents for us to deal with. The rest of our thing is probably just Hydroblasts. That's a good way of killing some of their guys. The Furies are good. I like these. Ice-Fangs. We need to keep our Force of Wills. I think Uro is too slow for what we're trying to accomplish here. It's a good stabilizer though, but I think we're better off trying to stabilize with these things. I like having the combo because we can kind of just race and get that game won Krasis, maybe that's too slow. Is that too few blue cards though? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh yeah, we've boarded out 3, but we've boarded in 2. I think that's probably acceptable. I don't want to trim any of these, and I don't really want to trim any more blue cards. Maybe we're trimming. We don't want to trim red cards either. Maybe we're trimming a food chain. We don't really want to draw a food chain when we don't have the combo available to us. Magus of the Moon is something we can do to mess with their caverns, but I don't think that's worth doing. Our opponent might also try to Blood Moon us, because we are a 3-color deck. And if they get it down early enough that our fetch lands don't get to fetch us basics, then that can definitely do some work. Our opening hand for game 2 is a bit too land heavy. I do not want to keep this one. Alright, so we have a Force of Will and a Fury. This is the sort of thing we're after. I think the Druid probably goes here. Now, we don't have a second land. We've got 2 draw steps to find one. Chalices, for one, is fine. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. That is a good card. Is that our fight, is the question. This is going to ramp them and give them some selection. Are we trying to stop this happening, or are we trying to stop the initiative? This can dig them into caverns and things. I think we just get rid of this. They've already used some of their fast mana to make this happen. This sets them back a little bit. That's a tough call. There are times where we get absolutely punished for doing that, and there are times where that's going to win us the game. Now, there's also a possibility that our opponent needed a Fable to make them some coloured mana. Alright. A Chromox. Sure. So I think we're going to see a big boy this turn, and that's going to make us feel bad for countering this Fable. This looks like a Seasoned Engineer to me. Right, we can kill this, but we need to find a land this turn. It's got a mountain in their hand, sure. Can we find a land? Any land but mountain, I should specify. We can find a land, alright. So I think we are doing this first, so we have more information about it, just in case something different happens. So we can't do this off of basics. We can get an island. If we're not doing this off basics though. So we get an island so that we can play a little bit under Blood Moon with things like Hydroblast. And then this will probably be a Taiga to give us our other colours. We'll cast this now. Let's see what our opponent's working with. If they soon. So okay, so another land, that's excellent. That's the sort of thing we want. So let's see if this Fury is as good as they were in the previous game. Let's kill their big guy, their only guy. And we put our cards on the table, literally, and it's now our opponent's turn to, well, I suppose digitally, not literally. But anyway, now it's our opponent's turn to show us what they have. They need to get rid of our guy or present a threat that is scary enough. Alright, they kept one of the cards that they scryed, so that doesn't bode amazingly for us. Alright, there's that mountain that we saw earlier. 2 mystery cards. One is the one they kept off of their scry. This looks like a Caves of Chaos Adventurer. Kind of playing the same game we did last time. Nope. Our opponents changed their mind. A Magus of the Moon. Sure, that's fine. We run our own Maguses. We're going to see a follow-up threat as well. A Touch of the Spirit Realm. That's good. That's a bigger game than the Magus. So this is a game where if we had Zoanthrope, we could go and fetch that and we get to kill this. Alright. What are we going to get with our Recruiter here? So we can get Squee and kind of hold the fort with the Squee. That seems reasonable. That also allows us to spike into the win, potentially. That seems acceptable to me. So if they attack with the Magus, we have to just take it this turn. Then we can play the Squee on blocks. And we can just keep casting this guy from our graveyard or exile and having a wonderful time. I like the fact that you can't really deal with Squee in any way. Like Mist Hollow Griffin, you can like Thoughtseize away, but Squee just ignores that. Now our opponent does obviously get to play some scary thing here. This could be like, okay, Fable. That makes our attacking with Imperial Recruiter not really a thing that's going to happen. Okay, so there's no point blocking with that 1/1. Yeah, I kind of wish we had Zoanthrope as an option in our deck. But sadly, not online yet. It's also a blue card to pitches to Force of Will. It kind of does it all. Right, let's play this guy. Red, red, 1. So our opponent's got no card in hand. They're about to get a Spooky Skeleton, and then after that they get to go into the Undercity. So it's going to be very hard for us to take the initiative off our opponent, unless we draw a Fury. If we draw a Fury, then we are having a wonderful time. Do they like that 1 card in their hand, or are they going to replace it? They're going to replace it. Okay. Alright. Fury, please. We got 3 of them in the deck. Sorry, 2 of them in the deck. We've already played 1. Not a Fury, but it is a Lightning Bolt. Okay, so I think we attack with our Squee. That's the obvious choice. Because we just recast this when it dies. Alright. So they're going to go into Throne of the Dead 3, which is... It's certainly on the awkward side for us. So I think what we're doing here is... If we line up the Magus... 1, 2... So they've got plenty of mana. So let's get rid of this Magus. Then we can... Do we think they have another Magus? Or are we just going to be playing this Squee? Maybe in that case we're supposed to get rid of the Spooky Skeleton. Yeah, it's awkward that we do want triple red here. We're also kind of into getting our basics. I think right now we're supposed to put the Squee into play. Which means we'll get a Volcanic. We just get 2 Volcanics here, right? So we can block the Menace guy. It'll cost us both of our guys. So that's probably not great if we're trying to get the initiative back. But we're probably going to get some scary initiative stuff going on here. So Solitude or Dungeoneer is what we're looking at here. Honestly, either of them probably win the game. So I don't really think it matters. What are we looking to draw? Food Chain isn't good enough. We need Questing Druid into Food Chain and Recruiter. That does it. We found the line. Can we actually get that to work? So they've got a big guy. We're going to take 4 this turn. And then next turn they get to start doing Fable stuff. So I think we're pretty much dead on our opponent's next turn. So we're just going to try and draw that 1 draw that saves us the game. Or wins us the game even. How does Fury work out here? Fury takes out some of their guys, but then we get hit for a bunch by this Seasoned Dungeoneer. So if we play towards the line that wins us the game, we don't block. If we play towards the Fury line, we do want to block here. I think the play here is to play to win, not to lose slower. Or, you know, to avoid losing the game when we could actually win the game. That's more of how I like to play Magic generally. I think you win a lot more games if you play to win rather than play to not lose. Oh, they didn't attack. That's good news for us. Okay, they're playing another spell. That's bad news for us. Okay, it's a Syrian Spirit Guide. That's okay news for us. It's been a real roller coaster this turn. Let's see what the top of our deck does. A Scalding Tarn. That doesn't do any of the things we want. All right, we attack with a Squee. It's probably just going to die, but we got to put him to the test. We might get 1 more turn here. Actually, no. So this is going to attack for 6. The other one's going to attack for 7, 8, 9. We block this and this. Do we get another turn here? Maybe. We get to block that. We take... Oh no, they're going into the Forge and the Trap, right? Yeah. We're just dead. GG's opponent. Alright, so we've got another game still. Do I want to do anything differently here? I don't think so. I think we just roll him back in. Like Force of Vigor hitting Touch the Spirit Realm, or potentially a Chalice at the right time, or a Chrome Mox, or a Fable the Mirror Breaker. I think it can definitely do some work, and it's worth having the Force of Vigor. Makes the Moon is really not very good against us. We have red removal, and we play our own Magus. But if our opponent's got them in, that's good news for us, but they're taking time sideboarding, so they're probably cutting them. We're on the play. We can counterspell their first scary thing. This seems fine. Scalding Tarn gets us a basic island. Then we can get a basic forest off of these, and we don't really need a basic mountain. Opponent's mulligan to 5. But they came very close to beating us on 5 cards before, so that doesn't really mean anything. Play this one out and pass. We'll hold up the Brainstorm in case we, want to brainstorm in response to them casting a spell to get the best information about what we want to pitch to our Force of Will and how the next couple of turns are going to play out. City of Traitors, Lotus Petal. So whatever they play this turn is going to be counterspellable. 3 mana. Fable of the Mirror Breaker again. Alright, we are going to go and get a basic island and cast a Brainstorm, I think. I don't like giving our opponent Fable here. Okay, this seems alright. So what are we putting back? Put back this basic and keep the Recruiter for next turn. I'm saying no to Fable of the Mirror Breaker. And this gets us a forest. And we play the Ice-Fang. I think that's better than doing the Questing Druid. Although we can choose which way how we go about doing it. So the top card of our library is a basic island, so we're going to fetch that away for sure. Challenge of the Void where X equals 1. Honestly, that's fine. That's not something that we really care about that much. So in the end step, I think we're probably fetching for a red source. So it's probably a red-blue source. So it's Volcanic Island. Although, no, we need a green source, right? So it probably just is the forest here, right? So we can... No, if we're going to cast this Questing Druid, we want a red source. Probably wants to be green. Do you want a Taiga here? I think it is a Taiga. Right, let's seek that beast. What are you going to find us? Something classy, I hope. A ponder that we can't use. Not ideal. Hydroblast. Okay, that's an annoying one as well. Let's crack this for a basic forest. We can play on the Blood Moon now. And we'll cast this Recruiter while it's there. What are we finding here? Probably just a Squee. That gives us the win if we find a food chain. No play from our opponent. That's pretty good news for us, obviously. Force of Will. That is some excellent news too. I think we are attacking with our 1/1. And I'm just going to play this Questing Druid and start scaling this up. We can counterspell a Fury if our opponent's got one of those, or a Solitude if we feel the need. I don't really care about a Solitude, actually, if they're pitch casting it. A Fury, killing both of our guys, is a bit more annoying. Having 2 guys means the initiative is not going to be that secure. City of Traitors being their land means they probably do have other lands in hand. They're just trying to make sure they get their money's worth of the City of Traitors. They might just have like 2 other lands, so it's not worth playing them out into your City of Traitors that dies. They were really banking on that Fable, so this is what I mean. The previous game, countering the Fable didn't... It slowed our opponent down a little bit, but this time it's absolutely wrecking our opponent for having countered that. What have you got? Is this an Archon? Touch of the Spirit Realm. Do I care about Touch of the Spirit Realm? No, I don't. We can take our Questing Druid here. Sure. At some point we might be able to Force of Vigor both of these away and unlock our hand, but we have a Force of Will ready to go. We have another Force of Will ready to go as well. I would like to draw a card. A Scalding Tarn. That's one of the things I was looking to draw. Don't mind having a bit more mana. We don't have like a big thing that can draw us some cards at the top end now, because we bought out our Krasis because we figured it'd be too slow. There's a plateau and no play. There's the Force of Vigor. Go attacks. So we can Force of Vigor both of these, which unlocks our 1-drops. Also will give us back our Questing Druid, so we can do it in response to Force of Willing, and then we end up getting our Force of Will doing some work and growing our friend. We already have green. I would like another red source, so this has to be a red source. I think it should be a Volcanic Island here. We will blow these 2 up. Goodbye, enemy permanents. Hello, Questing Druid. Turns on our Hydroblast as well. What have you got? A Swords to Plowshares on that guy. Honestly, that's fine. We get to make the Squee and hold up some other stuff. Are we brainstorming here first? If we brainstorm and don't hit a land, we don't get to hold up Hydroblast and Squee. But I think that's still a pretty good exchange of resources here. We find the land. Okay, we found the land. So we can play Squee, hold up Hydroblast. I don't think we need the Recruiter now. And one of these other cards has got to go. Is it the Lightning Bolt or the Ice-Fang? Maybe it's the Ice-Fang. I think it's the Bolt. We can leave that on top. We don't have to fetch it necessarily. Let's bash for 2. Let's play a threat. If we need to Hydroblast, obviously we can. We can just double Force of Will, which is why I kept the Ice-Fang. City of Traders. Our opponent's got mana. White, white, colourless. Seasoned Dungeoneer. Now, we have to make a choice here. I think we want to get rid of the Hydroblast and just hold up a Force of Will. There are downsides to this. Do we want the Lightning Bolt on top of our library? This is 4 damage. I don't think we do. We fetch here. I think we'll go and get Tropical Island. Another blue card would be nice. That kind of is another blue card, isn't it? So we go to attacks. Attack with all creatures. Red. And this one. Place Recruiter. Go and get ourselves a blue card. So we can then also play out our Ice-Fang. Just another Ice-Fang's fine here. Well, we've got lots of Death Touches, which feels like a reasonable place to be. Well, they're not Death Touches yet, but they will be once we get the other one, because then we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 snow permanents, which is the total number you need, because it doesn't include itself. It's 3 other. All right. We beat the initiative with just a beatdown plan. 1-1's too good. Our opponent did mulligan, which helped, and we did have some key counterspells, and counterspelling that Fatal the Mirror Breaker was very backbreaking for our opponent. They led off on the City of Traitors, which let us know that it was going to be a much better one. So, yeah, we are 2-0. Let's go to round 3. What does our hand do? We can Lightning Bolt stuff, play some guys out. This seems acceptable. It's not the most exciting hand you've ever seen in Magic the Gathering, but it does work. So we can lead off with a Scalding Tarn, so we can fire off a Lightning Bolt if we are required to. A Wasteland. Okay, that tells us that we are playing on basics this game. Good to know. I'll play out a Misty Rainforest. What flavour of Wasteland is our opponent? All the Wastelands, that's the flavour they are. Okay, understood. We'll play out this Snow-Covered Island. They're going to show us a colour this turn. They just kept double Wasteland. Let's crack this. Go get a basic forest. Yeah, you picked the wrong opponent to keep that hand against, I'm afraid. Right, here comes the Ice-Fang. Ooh, a Force of Will from our opponent by the looks of it. And exiling a Brainstorm, sure. An Uro. His land. Let's crack this for a Mountain. Mountain's kind of awkward, trying to recast the backside of the Uro. But our opponent's showing us these Wastelands, so we don't really want to play into it if we can avoid it. Actually, if we go and get... Yeah, if we go and get ourselves another island here, and then we cast this, we can hold up the Lightning Bolt. It's a bit awkward that we've already fetched a Mountain. Force of Will pitching Delver's Secrets. Okay. Sure. I really don't want us drawing extra cards. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we Lightning Bolt our opponent here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can just play an Uro here. It will be into a Daze, but our opponent can't play Daze because of Wastelands. So 1, 2, 3, 4. What fair Magic the Gathering card Uro is, eh? Yeah, so our opponent kept double Wasteland, double Force hand, which is reasonable, but a little bit sketchy. We will not put a land in. Alright, so we've got Big Daddy Uro. If we get to attack with this Uro, then I think this game is pretty much over. Right, so they're going to hit our land. That's, you know, the price we paid. We got an Uro into play, so I'll take it. All right, they've had enough, which is fair enough. They kept a kind of ropey one. I can see why they kept it, but it does feel a little on the ropey side. Okay, so this is a matchup where Carpet of Flowers and Endurance feel good. We don't know what flavor of Delver they are. So how much are these Hydroblasts going to work? How much are these Pyroblasts going to work? The Pyroblast, definitely. The Hydroblast, a little bit more skeptical. So what do we want here? Like, they could be a mono blue. They didn't show us anything. Alright, so what do I think we want? Furies, I like these. I don't really like the Force of Wills against Delver that much. We are trying to force through a combo, but our general plan is also very good. So I don't mind just boarding these things in and then trimming down a little bit on some of our stuff. Probably trim a Recruiter and a Food Chain here. Have this stuff going. Okay, we can Lightning Bolt some stuff here. Like early creatures, that's fine. Ideally, we don't want to see a threat on turn 1. But we'll see. Underground Sea. Okay, so they are on the... Probably on the Grixis one. No threat on turn 1 is excellent news. That means that we get to play around days when we cast removal spells and their 1-drops. So they might be on Stalactite Stalker. They might be on just like Bowmasters. We saw the Delver actually, so they're probably not on Stalactite Stalkers. Unless they're... You're not going to be cutting Dragon's Rage Channeler. They could be like a weird blue-black Delver list. You don't see it anymore, but once upon a time, people used to play blue-black Delver. There's a Bauble. Are they going to look at us? No, they're saving it. Okay. Right, we'll play this Scalding Tarn. I don't want to just hang out the Volcanic Island. The idea is we get a basic island off of the Scalding Tarn. Although we might just get another Volcanic, actually. Because we don't want to get wasted off of red. Sure, they can have this. We can untap and shoot it. They're going to use the Bauble to get the Delver to flip. They have 2 Baubles. So they get 2 bites of the cherry here on the next turn. So this Delver is definitely flipping, is what they're telling us. Alright, they are targeting themselves now. That's not the way you want to do that. Okay. They didn't play a second land either. So their hand is somewhere probably... Yeah, they're probably like a whole bunch of spells here, I would imagine. Because otherwise you just play them. So we're going to get a Volk here. We're going to play out this snow-covered island. Then we're going to cast Lightning Bolt targeting this guy. Paying around days. The thing that concerns me here is Murktide Regent. But we can try and answer that with an Ice-Fang. But that's not going to be the easiest thing to do with our current setup. They only have 1 sorcery in there. So it will be killable via Fury. If that's how this game kind of pans out. They've got a second land now. Another Bauble. Alright, mono Baubles. But they wish they were playing Stalactite Stalker now. We're growing that all the live long day. Obviously it still would have died to Lightning Bolt, but... Alright. Cracking their Polluted Delta. Red mana confirmed. They're just going to do a little mini Murktide. Mini Mercs. They are. So this is going to be a 4-4. So we can try and answer this with Fury. Alright, we found the perfect card to try and do that with. I think we're going to play this first so we can play around days. Put this over here because we actually get to do this. Alright. Goodbye Murktide Regent. That guy goes away. We can play an Uro into a daze, or we can just hold up this Ice-Fang. I think playing the Ice-Fang now is before they get Bowmasters makes sense. If we find a land, we can deploy that and hold up. Oh no, we can't deploy that, we play the land, yeah. So we do have a Lightning Bolt, but we don't really want to fire it into a daze. Right, nothing from our opponent over there. Pyroblast is an excellent draw, as you can probably imagine. Blue and black. So this is going to be an Orcish Bowmasters. Sure, that's acceptable. I'm going to ping our little friend. I think we will cast a Lightning Bolt on this guy. So you want a green source. Do you want a red source or a blue source? I don't really think it matters too much. I think we probably want a red source. I think we're getting a Taiga here. And then we can either cast a Squee or we can play the Uro. I think I want the Squee here. We don't really need to hold up Pyroblast because the thing we're going to be doing with Pyroblast is most likely killing a Murktide Regent. This is a 2-1. we can block their guy. We don't really care about if our Squee dies because we can cast it from anywhere. Another land from our opponent. A Brainstorm, sure. Again, I don't think we're, even if we had the red banner up, we want to hit a Brainstorm. We want to save our Pyroblast for Murktide Regents. That's the big scary thing that we can't. Like, we have red removal on our deck. We have creatures that can outpace the rest of their creatures. Like, maybe forcing through the backside of an Uro is worth doing. Let's see. Right, they're not attacking. That means we get to attack. Let's play this. Let's cast an Uro here. So green, blue, green. Right, they can have another Orcish Bowmasters here, which will give them an additional ping. But if they have an Orcish Bowmaster, they take out our Squee anyway. This can just be a Pyroblast in the front half. That's fine. I think you'd rather save that for the back half personally, but sure. Let's go to attacks, I suppose. Our clock is better than yours. Misty Rainforest from our opponent. They're going to get in for 1 here. They didn't block, so nope. Okay, interesting. Not attacking or blocking with it is odd. So we can slam this Uro right now if we want to. I kind of want to keep this for purposes of brainstorms, but maybe we want to play around days and Force of Will. Green, green, blue, blue. Okay, let's get rid of... We don't get to bring anything back anyway, so it really doesn't matter. Can I have an Uro, please, opponent? They use Pyroblast on the front half, which means they probably have an answer for the back half. There is a Force of Will. Pitching another Force of Will. I get a mountain here. I will Pyroblast this Force of Will. Like, Uro is the biggest game in town at this point. So, all right, they're just scooping up to the Uro. Pretty reasonable. We are sailing along with 3 wins and 0 losses so far. Let's go to round 4. Force of Will we can't cast just yet, but the rest of our hand is pretty reasonable. I will keep this. We'll find a blue card at some point. Let's just hope that this isn't the matchup where we need it on turn 1. Polluted Delta from our opponent. And no plays. Very suspicious. Right, we've got our Force of Will online. We'll play out the Scalding Tarn. This can give us flexibility to play the Lightning Bolt without exposing ourselves to a wasteland. A basic swamp. I'm getting Reanimator vibes here. Sometimes you just feel it, right? Okay, I think the world wants us to play Questing Druids. Right, so we can get a Taiga off this Scalding Tarn if we need to. Alright, what are we going to see here? My Entomb sense is tingling. Island Swamp. Maybe we're looking at some sort of Doomsday. Orcish Bowmasters. That's honestly fine. We have an answer for that we can fire off later. We don't need to do it now. I'm happy to take that little bit of damage this turn. So we're probably in a fair matchup, which our deck is pretty reasonable at because we have lots of, you know, decent card advantage. We have ways of removing creatures. It's just the big creatures that get a little bit sketchy for us. Cycling a Troll of Khazad-dûm. Sure. We might be casting a Reanimate in the very near future. Force of Will on their Reanimate. Alright, they didn't do anything there. I am still going to fetch the Taiga. Oh, they got a Stifle here. They do have a Stifle. How much do I care about this Stifle? It is annoying, but we do have another land locked and loaded. Sure, I think that's acceptable. Like, we have this board relatively under control. We don't really care about these things. We just want to stop our opponent from killing us with something spooky. Right, let's just get rid of this Bowmasters while we can. Maybe our opponent's playing like full-on blue-black scam. Force of Will, pitching a Ponder. They really, really want this Bowmasters. Honestly, that's fine. Again, we're taking minimal amounts of damage. We want to stop this Troll of Khazad-dûm getting us. We want to stop like a Murktide. That's what this Force of Will's for, because we can just seek the beast soon and get some cards going. Now, Wasteland here, obviously I spoke into existence, but there we go. That's not ideal for us. Alright, come on deck. Land. It's a land. It's not... I got what I asked for, right? It wasn't the one I wanted. I should have been more specific. Let's have a Taiga or something on the next turn. So we can take 2 again. And you start just drawing a bunch of cards with these Questing Druids. And it's not actually card drawing because it's just exiling top cards in my library. So Bowmasters doesn't get to do anything. Okay, I got the Taiga I asked for. I can't really argue with that one. I think it's better to do the Questing Druid stuff than it is to do Food Chain. This way, if they wasteland us again, we at least have the mana potentially from looking at 2 cards to find another land. Yep, they're going to bash us for 2 again. Still got half our life total left. Very healthy. We're still going to outclass what our opponent's doing on the board. Trying to think what they have in hand they wouldn't have cast. Probably some reactive spells, removal, that sort of jazz. Let's seek the beast. Ponder Walking Ballista. Interesting. Okay, so you found a land. I'm into that. So if we... What do we do here? If we play Questing Druid, we can't have all of our cake and eat it here. We're going to play our land out. I think we're going to cast a Walking Ballista where X is 1. Use this to kill the Bowmasters and cast a Ponder. My opponent could have another Bowmasters, but I think if you've already got one, you're probably just pushing damage unless you're really... I guess maybe trying to hit the Questing Druid is what their angle is. Right, let's just kill off this Bowmaster now. So we've abandoned the combo. Okay, they're stifling that. How important is it for me to get... I think that's fine. I can live with that. Are we playing this Questing Druid now? I think so. They could have a Dazer. That's certainly one of the things they could have. I'd rather they daze this. Let's get a Tropical Island. I think we're just going to cast this Questing Druid. So they're on full set of Stifle, I have to imagine, right? A player after my own heart there. I do love a tempo deck with Stifle. Snuff out. Paying for life. Sure. Again, what we want to do is not die to Murktide Regent. Now, if we counter that, we do end up with a 2-2, which is pretty decent. But I think it's better to just carry on the plan that we seem to have found ourselves in. Let's seek the beast now. Because we have a decent amount of mana to do stuff with. A Fury, you say? With no red cards in our hand, you say? That's not really how we drew it up, was it? That is a damn shame. We can only cast that. Yeah, okay, so we can't cast our Recruiter either. I think we're just going to cast this Questing Druid. Yuck. That hasn't gone amazing for us right there. Let's get a 1-1 in play. The Force of Willing. Okay, so now they're Hellbent. So we can just seek the beast next turn and probably be pretty stable from that point on. We're going to be on a low life total, but our opponent hasn't shown us any red mana yet. And they're playing Snuff Out, which makes me think they are just straight blue-black. Very much a game of using our life total as a resource. A Stalactite Stalker. No, I think that's fine. We've got Lightning Bolts, we've got Furies. The Menace is a thing, for sure. Maybe this is an error to let this resolve, and we're just getting a little bit too greedy with what we've got going on. That last Seek the Beast was pretty awkward for us. I won't lie. A Food Chain, so that's a blank. So let's seek this beast. Our opponent has no cards, so we can kind of just do our thing here. An Imperial Recruiter, a Questing Druid, and a Brainstorm. So we don't really get to cast these and do anything useful. Green, blue. Casting this Brainstorm is a disaster. Yeah, I think maybe we're supposed to have counted that Stalker. It's going to be one of those games where I die to their creatures with a Force of Will in hand. That's going to be a bit sad. Kind of want our opponent to cast a spell first here. They attack with these guys. We take 3. This kills us next turn. So we are committed to blocking, as awkward as that is. That will grow the Stalker and still let us die next turn, actually, won't it? Yeah, that's not great for us. We can't cast Fury. Maybe we do need a Brainstorm, but we're already dead there. Hydroid Krasis, you say. So we draw a card. Green, blue, blue. X is 3. So we're going to draw 1 card and gain 1 life. But we're going to have the biggest thing on the board. Yep. You get to ping us here. Okay. A petty theft. So we counter this and we die. Yeah. We should have counted something early on. Although if we count the Stalker, we probably still lose this one. It's close. But yeah, I think we were expecting a bit too much off the top of our deck, and it didn't really pan out for us. Yeah, awkward one, that one. Okay, so I believe that Magus of the Moon is going to be relatively useful here. And I believe these Endurances are going to be useful. These Veils and these Carpets are going to be useful. And these Pyroblasts are probably going to be useful too. I don't think I want to go full into the Faerie Macabre to stop the reanimate lines, but that is an option that we have. Are we trying to combo here against this heavily disruptive deck, or are we just going to play like a mid-range game? If we want to play a mid-range game, what does that look like? Something along these lines, and then we're trimming one more thing. I don't really like the Ice-Fang too much against the Bowmasters, but we do have answers for it. I like the Ballista for killing the Bowmasters. I like Squee as a red card that we can pitch. I'm really sideboarding out of the combo. It's a little sad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We could always just not board in the Magus. And that's pretty clean then. We'll try this. I'm not very happy with how I played that game, to be honest. I think the Beasts were bad, which didn't really help us out. This hand is fine. We can lead off with a basic mountain. Although we know our opponent's got fetch land, got stifled actually. So I think we're going to just play this and turn it into a basic island straight up. We don't get to lightning bolt on turn 1, but we don't really want a lightning bolt on turn 1. We want to be able to play around days. A grief. We could brainstorm here, protect some stuff. I don't hate that. What are we protecting is the question. Honestly, I think that's fine. Like, what are we protecting? We've got so much redundancy in this hand. If they take a lightning bolt here and then they bring it back, then we can brainstorm to put the lightning bolt on top. If they take the brainstorm, then they can't take the lightning bolt, so we can definitely kill their guy. Right, so they're going for the lightning bolt, so I think they're going to reanimate this and try and take the other lightning bolt from us. Alright, we're going to brainstorm now while they can't daze. Veil of Summer. We don't really want this Veil of Summer in our hand with no green mana sources. So, what are we keeping and how? I think we put Ponder and the Bolt on top. So, if they reanimate the Grief, they probably just take the Ponder. Yeah. So, we did that there so they couldn't daze the Brainstorm, in case you're wondering about my timings there. They might take something like an Ice-Fang or a Veil, depending on what their hand looks like. They might think that we're not showing them... Yeah, okay, yeah. So, they don't think that we're... So I think we might be hiding our green mana rather than just not having any. Interesting. I took the 1 mana Cryptic command against their deck. That seems fair. I would like to lightning bolt your creature, please. We can cast a Ponder here. It does run into a daze, but we want to get it done before the Orcish Bowmasters happen. I don't really want these cards, although Scalding Tarn does give us access to the Ice-Fang. So I guess we can bury the Squee, take the Ponder... and then have the Ice-Fang. It's very bad into Bowmasters is the only issue. But we can cast Ponder and then play the Ice-Fang in response if they Bowmasters. No, we can't because of the mana we have. Doesn't allow us to do that. Alright, we're going to lose our Ice-Fang here, so we've got a Ponder to try and rebuild with. We know 1 card from the top of our library. Do we want to keep that? I think that's probably acceptable. Let's Ponder. It's the Squee, which isn't ideal. The Ice-Fang. I think we just have to go in the order and shuffle here. A Pyroblast. Let's play out this. I'm going to play out the fetch land in case we get an opportunity to fetch around a Stifle. Yeah. A Pyroblast is being saved for something like a Murktide or forcing through a really powerful play like an Uro. The backside of Uro, not the front side. Right, we're going to take 3. A Ponder. There is a potential Bowmasters here, but I don't really think we have the luxury of playing around that at this point. Alright, here we go. Get Bowmastered. Yep. I think our opponents had our number here a bit. Is Uro the answer to our problems? Possibly. Or is Questing Druid the answer to our problems? We can kind of have all of these things. So we can put the Force of Will on the bottom, then the Uro, then the Questing Druid. And we can draw the Questing Druid and have it as a thing we get to do on our opponent's turn. And we can leave the top cards of our library being Force of Will and Uro if we want to, but I don't think we want those, do we? Right, I think we're in a similar position to the previous game, which is not good because that didn't end in our favour. So they've already played a land for the turn, so we don't have to worry about wasteland this turn cycle. This could be a Stifle though. No Stifle. So I would like a green source. I think I also want a red source so we're at least possibly live to drawing Fury. So that means Taiga is the option here. We're doing this now in case we draw something that can interact with the damage and reduce it for us. These are not the things that do that. Okay. Murktide. So if this resolves, we die, but we kind of need our mana next turn anyway. So I think we're just going to hope they don't have a daze. I think if we're trying to answer this on... Alright, that's game, I think, there. Wow. What can we possibly draw here? We can chump block it with a Hydroid Krasis. That's not great, though. Brainstorm, that's certainly not good. So we can make a 2/2 that gains us 1 life, but it doesn't gain us 1 life because of Bowmaster. So we stay on 7. We block this. We take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I think they've got us coming and going here. It's the end of that chapter. Yeah, I think we misplayed the first game there. We were kind of relying on Always Seek the Beast to find us like removal or some like board presence or something, and we just kind of drew into these food chains, and then we had that thing where we drew the Fury but couldn't get anything out of it, and we kind of basically had like 6 blanks that didn't get us anywhere. We also didn't have red mana to play the recruiters, so it just kind of all fell apart there. And then this match our opponent just had it all smashed us up good, but that's what their deck's designed to do. No trophy this time around. Still going for the 4/1, so let's get into it. What does our hand do? Plays on basics, has some of the things we need. I think this is a keep. Our opponent has mulligan to 6. That doesn't really mean anything. Hopefully we don't need to counter something on turn 1. Haven't played against Toa Muxus yet today, so maybe we're due that one. But I guess we're about to find out. Flooded Strands. It's not Turbo Muxus. And we get to play a Ponder. Imperial Recruiter gets us infinite mana. So we definitely want that in our wheelhouse. Got 2 lands here. Probably want the 3rd land. I think it's Druid, Tarn, Recruiter. This does expose the Recruiter to hand disruption. But we can play Questing Druid and make it infinitely large in the not too distant future. Let's see what our opponent's doing off of their basic island. A Ponder. I'm getting combo vibes. Doesn't necessarily mean they are a combo deck, but I don't know. It's got a feel. I chose not to shuffle off that Ponder. Polluted Delta. And no follow-up. Alright. So, Ice-Fang into Food Chain can win us the game on next turn. Like, we could have played the Questing Druid, but we don't have the starting creature to really go wild with it. Underground Sea. I have a feeling we're about to get Bowmastered. And that's just the sad nature of things. No Bowmaster. Okay, so I think our opponent... What are they keeping in their hand? Interesting. So infinite mana. We have a guy here. I guess we go to attacks first, and then we see how things progress from that point onwards. So we're going to drop this and deploy the Questing Druid as a Druid. Holding open Brainstorm, potential Veil of Summer, that sort of jazz. This means next turn we can kill our opponent if they have no interaction. So I'm thinking Doomsday. I don't know, that's what's on my radar right now. A Ponder, sure. I chose not to shuffle off this Ponder as well. We could be looking at something like Ad Nauseam Tendrils as well. Definitely doesn't feel like any sort of, you know, Delvery, Murktide type deck. There's no sort of impetus for them so far to put threats into play. Let's see, blue spell. Cycling their Lorien revealed. Okay. These are all cards within Doomsday so far. Obviously, they're cards within a lot of different decks. Another Underground Sea. Definitely Doomsday alarm bells ringing. I am going to cast this Brainstorm. It grows our Questing Druid, but also gives us potential to find something else. We did not really find anything else. Okay, so we'll put back this land. Put back this land. Do we need to crack this right now? I don't think we do. Cast a little food chain. How do you feel about this one, opponent? Alright, let's make some red mana by sacrificing our Ice-Fang. Let's cast this guy. Alright, let's go and get Squee. Just keep casting Squee. We're going to make some green mana in a sec and put another Questing Druid into play as well. Alright, our opponent's scoop. They've seen that we've got the infinitely sized Questing Druid. It does feel like our opponent's playing Doomsday. It could be Ad Nauseam, Tendrils. Either way, Endurance is going to be good. The fact that they lingered on our turn makes me definitely think that we're looking at more Doomsday style deck though. Collector Ouphe does do stuff against both, so I think it's probably worth an inclusion. Pyroblast is useful against... it's kind of useful, right? You can hit some cantrips. Like, you're just trying to trade this with anything, I guess, is what the Pyroblast is doing. This is not a Fury matchup. And this is not a Lightning Bolt matchup. Our opponent was not putting threats into play. This seems fine. We can readjust if we get some more information. Actually, no, we want the Magus in here for sure. Do we need Krasis? It's a blue card. Maybe we don't have enough time for an Uro, so let's strip the Uro back. I'm not massively in love with this one. I think it's like pretty borderline. The Veil of Summer is nice, but we're on the draw, so that's less useful. I think we can do better. Alright, this is a banger of a hand. Let's keep this one. What are we pitching? We obviously want to keep our Magus. The Questing Druid can help us find things. It's probably the Uro that goes, or the Questing Druid, depending on what we're planning to do with our Brainstorm. I think it's a Questing Druid. We're going to pitch the Uro to the Brainstorm, to the Force of Will. So our plan is to counterspell something, put Magus of the Moon in play, make our opponent sad. It's got the vibes that they are Tendrils. Like if they had Lorien Revealed, sorry, they're not Tendrils, they're Doomsday. Like Lorien Revealed, you sometimes see it in like the Tendrils-y style decks, but like full on Ad Nauseam isn't really where you want to be playing Lorien Revealed. So I do believe we are playing against Doomsday. They chose not to shuffle. It's good for them. Here's Misty Rainforest. We probably need to get a basic island off of this one. We'll worry about the Questing Druid at a later date. No play from our opponent. That's interesting. But they kept the Ponder. It is very interesting. So we have access to doing a Brainstorm and hiding cards or finding more cards. We have options. There is a Flooded Strand. I think we'll fire off an end of turn Brainstorm here. They didn't show us Bowmasters in the previous game. Right, still no Bowmasters. So we can get this Tropical Island into play and then start doing this sort of stuff. Uro is very unlikely to do anything other than pitch to Force of Will here. Brainstorm less good underneath your Magus lock. So we're going to draw the Ponder and have a Krasis as a thing we might be able to do at some point. So play this out. This will get us a basic island, I believe. The other option here is to try and test to see if we can force through something else. Force through the Magus later. I think I just like trying to shut the door. If our opponent has no response to this, then they're going to be in trouble. Is this cracking, brainstorming for an answer? White mana. This does feel like it's going to be Dovin's veto. Oh, they're floating mana. Right, what are they going to do with this floating mana? Swords to Plowshares. I'm going to say no to this. Pitching the Uro. I consider. Yeah, this definitely is Doomsday. I think I had the correct read here. Magus of the Moon is quite often lights out. Alright, you can see how desperately they're looking for anything to interact with this Magus. Alright, I think we've done the hard work here. Powerful sideboard cards are powerful. Who'd have guessed? All right, our opponent's just off it. And we finished with the 4-1. So I think this is the third time I've played this food chain deck. And my results, I think, are 5-0, 4-1, 4-1. I think that's my results. I might be wrong. But yeah, this deck is... You can see why I love this deck, right? You have so many different levers you can pull in different directions. I think we punted round 4 a little bit here. We were kind of relying on our Questing Druid to find us some good stuff. But maybe because we didn't have the second red, we shouldn't have been doing that as much. Or we should have been casting the Seek the Beast in our opponent's turn so that we can cast a red spell like a Lightning Bolt. I don't like the way I played the game we lost. The first game, I think that was on us that we lost that one. The second one, our opponent's going to body us with a hand like that every time. But we should have got a third game out of it. But yeah, a 4-1, pretty nice record. Let's talk about the deck. So obviously we're missing the options of Morlock and Zoanthrope. If you're unfamiliar with Zoanthrope and Morlock, I will pull them up on the screen for you now. Alright, so these are the two cards I was talking about. So Morlock is a X red-green Ravenous, which means it enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. If X is 5 or more, you draw a card when it enters. So basically it's a 2 + X for 2 mana + X. So whatever mana you put into it is going to be that size. And then when it enters the battlefield, it fights up to one target creature an opponent controls. If that creature would die, exile it instead. So it's exile removal and it's removal. You can fetch it with the Imperial Recruiter. It's pretty darn good. So this is a nice thing that we could reach for. We don't have it in Magic Online yet. I do have one in paper. The other one is Zoanthrope. So this is X blue-red. Ravenous again, so if it's 5 or more, we get to draw a card. It's flying, ward 2, so that's quite hard to remove. When it enters the battlefield, it deals X damage to any target. So again, this is a different sort of removal spell. It's not as clean as Morlock, in my opinion, because Morlock is bigger, but this can burn planeswalkers, it can hit people's face, it can have a lot more flexibility with it. It's a harder creature to deal with and flies, and it's a blue card for the purposes of Force of Will, and it's a red card for the purposes of Fury. So where to fit these in is a little bit of a difficult question. I think you might want one of these over a Fury. But again, I can't really test this because I don't get to play as much paper as I get to play online. So if you have any thoughts on this, let me know. But this is some cards worth getting for the food chain deck. So those are the things we're missing that we just don't have access to online. One thing I did feel we were missing was something like an Ether Channeler, I think it is, where you get to, like a bounce spell. So we can't really deal with some stuff once it gets into play. Like if Fury doesn't kill it and Lightning Bolt doesn't kill it, we're kind of relying on blocking with Ice-Fang, and that doesn't always work. So being able to bounce something like a Marit Lage token or a problem permanent would be really useful, especially as a main deck thing. It would also up our blue count. What I will say about that, though, is the match where we really wanted to bounce something was versus the Marit Lage token, but we did win that game. We didn't win that game, but we did win that match anyway. So I do think we have the tools to beat that sort of strategy anyway. Hydroid Krasis doesn't look very good. It's fine. Like, it is a thing that lets you just sort of draw your whole deck whilst also being reasonable. Like, we made a 6/6 one at one point. Like, it's fine. Maybe, like, the Zoanthrope is better there. But, you know, if you're putting in... You have to put in a lot of mana to draw a card. Whereas this one, you can put 4 mana in, get a card. So that's, you know, a cantrip for 4 mana for a 2/2 that cantrips and gains you 1 life isn't a great rate. But it's not really in there for that. It's just supposed to be passable if you have to cast it as a spell. And the fact that you draw the cards from cast rather than entering the battlefield is interesting as well. But that's something where I'd be looking, can we fix that up? I didn't miss having Mist Hollow Griffin in this list. The thing you normally see with Food Chain, people playing things like, what's that card called? Manipulate Fate, where you exile 3, you search your library for 3 cards and exile them and draw a card. So it's kind of like a draw 4 because you exile your 3 Mist Hollow Griffins and draw a card. But the cards you're getting are Mist Hollow Griffins, so they're not great cards. Mist Hollow Griffin is nice to pitch to Force of Will, obviously. But one of the problems with Mist Hollow Griffin is if it's in your graveyard from like discard and stuff, you can't cast it from your graveyard, you can only cast it from exile. Whereas Squee is immortal. Wherever it goes, unless it gets shuffled into your library, you'll be able to cast this. And it does feel like the best thing that you can be food chaining with. Once again, I do think that this is probably the best use of Questing Druid. Like, Questing Druid is obviously a good card, but it feels like it goes above and beyond in this deck, more so than other decks, in my opinion. Because, like, you can play it on turn 2, to just allow you to turn 3 combo. You can draw a bunch of extra cards and just go off with it. It's an infinite-sized creature. We did win with an infinite-sized Questing Druid this league. It does all the things you want. So I'm a big fan of it. One of my worries with this list is the amount of blue cards. So we've got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, plus these 8s. That's 19. That is about the minimum that I'm happy running. Well, 18, 19 is about the minimum that I think you should run. I like to run 20 Force of Wills generally, especially when we're in a format that's very fast and often requires you to actually have it straight away. But what I like about this deck is the blue cards that we pitch to Force of Will aren't integral to our plan necessarily, right? Cantrips we can throw away into this, the Ice-Fang, whatever. It's not like we're playing a combo deck and we have to throw away one of our combo cards into a Force of Will to try and keep ourselves alive. So there's not that tension, which I do enjoy, having a deck that feels kind of smooth on that front. Mana base, yep, felt good. Do we need 2 snow-covered islands? That is an interesting one to think about. It felt okay, although we did kind of get jammed up by getting too many of these out and then not being able to cast Squee. I think maybe I could have avoided that myself, and that was maybe my problem with fetching. We did draw naturally one of them though, so there is that. But yeah, this deck feels really smooth. Sideboard wise, we used everything. We brought in everything apart from the Faerie Macabre, right? We brought in the Collector Ouphe against Doomsday, not expecting it to do very much. But we just wanted to shut our opponent off. This and Magus of the Moon basically means it impossible for them to win. So I like that. I liked having the extra Hydroblast. It was a nice tool to reach for. I'm not so sure about the Veil of Summer. Obviously, we lost to the Scam deck, where Veil of Summer is very good in that matchup. So maybe it is right to have the Veils there. But you only get so many sideboard slots at the end of the day. Other things to think about is, like I said, the bounce guy or something that blows up permanents, like artifacts and enchantments. We can Imperial Recruiter for something that we can then use to blow things up. So we just have like another copy of that. But we are a Force of Will. Sorry, we are a Force of Will deck, so we can counter some stuff on the way down. And we do have Ponders and Brainstorms to try and find our Force of Vigors in the post-war game. So I don't know. I think it's probably about fine where it is right now. I definitely want to run some more games with this. I'm going to play it relatively regularly. Not going to play it every week or anything, but you're going to see it at least once a month, I imagine, because this is a deck that I am building in paper, and I'm a big fan of it, so getting the games in is nice. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this one and watched some more quality food chain action. Big fan of this deck, and I hope you are too. Remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of my content. I'm trying to hit 2,500 subs by my birthday at the beginning of April. So we're on track to do that, but I definitely want to do that, keep the channel growing, and making the content that people want to watch. So if there's stuff you want me to do on my channel, not necessarily decks, but, you know, different ways of approaching content, or, you know, do you want to see more weird and wacky things? Do you like it when I'm playing lots of competitive decks? You know, let me know what appeals to you, and I can try and reflect that in my content a bit more. Obviously, I can't promise to play every deck. Well, there are some decks that I struggle a little bit with compared to others, but, you know, that's Legacy. There's so many competitive decks that it is impossible to learn them all. Alright, I think I have done enough talking. So, once again, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low-cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles, and lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.